John Cola with DiscountJuicers.com. I have another exciting episode for you, and this is for those of you guys that have an Omega Vert juicer or are thinking about buying an Omega Vert juicer. This is going to be my quick start video. I have a lot of videos on the Omega Vert, how specifically to use it. I have 20-minute videos that explain specifically how to get the best results when juicing it. But this is going to be like the quick start video. Say you just bought the juicer from the store, you just got it from DiscountJuicers.com, it got delivered to your house. What do you need to know to get started up and quick to get successful results the first time? So number one, when the juicer comes assembled to you, it's going to come in two main parts. You're going to get this main assembly here. The pusher is going to be a little bit separate. And this assembly comes pre-assembled. Now in the main unit is the HD screen. That's the translucent yellow color screen. If you got that screen, you got the HD model. All Omega Verts, whether it's Omega Vert 350, 350 HD, they're all the same. They are all HD. Now if you get the Omega Vert 330, that version may not be HD if you get the white screen. So in any case, so once you get this, the first thing to remember is that you want to assemble it properly. If you don't assemble it properly, it's not going to turn on. There's a built-in safety switch. You're going to take this top part and put it right on, and it's just going to spin into place. The thing you want to make sure is there's a little arrow here in the back that always needs to line up to the back on this black piece on the back that says open and close. If you do that, that's like wearing your baseball cap the front ways and it'll turn on. If you put this on the back ways, like, you know, you ever see those guys that wear their baseball cap backwards like this? It's set up, John, it doesn't turn on, man. You sent me a defective juicer. Well, that's because you don't have it properly assembled. I do have a specific video on YouTube that explains how to specifically assemble it in detail. I'm not going to go into that in this video other than what I just shared with you. The next thing you want to remember for proper results when using the Omega Vert juicer is if you want pulp-free juice, you need to use a strainer. The Omega Vert juicer, while it does run at low RPMs, tends to produce a really pulpy juice, which can change over time depending on the produce quality that we'll talk about in a second. But you want to be sure to use a strainer, you know, so I juice the juice as it comes out, and then I'll actually pour it through the strainer into another container, and then I might even double strain it and then dump out the pulp and then actually restrain it again. So once your juice is double strained, it's virtually pulp free, and that's usually how I like to drink it, at least minimally single strained or double strained, but it also depends on what you're juicing. Obviously, if you're juicing mostly leafy greens, it's not going to make a lot of pulp, but on something like carrots, it's going to make more pulp. Alright, so next thing you want to remember when using the Omega Vert juicer is that you want to do proper produce selection. So what does that mean? Now, if you want to juice tomatoes and fruits in general, in my opinion, all fruits are better blended than juiced. That being said, if you want to juice them, you can juice them in the Omega Vert, and the Omega Vert does an amazing job for juicing fruits based on my test on a lot of different kinds of juicers. But the one thing you have to remember is that you have to get hard, firm fruit. You can drop that tomato and it didn't break and it didn't bounce. If you take a tomato and you drop it and it splats, that tomato is far too soft to be juicing. It's not going to work well. It's going to make an excessively pulpy juice. I mean, same thing with the apple. You want to get nice, hard, firm, fresh fruit, people. One of the challenges that occurs is like I get emails that says, hey John, I got the Omega Vert, it juiced pretty good, but now, 6 months later, it's making really pulpy juice. Maybe you got the juicer in the summertime when we were getting a fresh shipment of apples in, and now it's the winter, the new year, where the apples you're buying now are from cold storage from last year. So they've been sitting around, getting softer, getting more mealy. And let me tell you, soft apples will make more of an apple sauce than a juice in the Omega Vert. So, in that case, it might be better to use a centrifugal ejection juicer that's better able at handling this soft fruit. So yeah, pick apples and firm fruits no matter what you're juicing. I mean, same thing with the carrots. You want to pick proper carrots. So how do you pick proper carrots? Well, proper carrots are actually a small diameter. So like a pencil thin diameter. They generally work better in the Omega Vert than like nice fat diameter carrots. Fat diameter carrots, number one, you got to cut to feed in the feed chute. Plus, if you don't feed them a little bit at a time, they're going to basically stop the juicer. Now, does this mean the juicer's bad? No, it just means you're feeding things in too quickly. On a selection of leafy greens and celery, you want to always select the produce as fresh as possible. Hopefully grow it yourself out of your garden, take it, bring it in, and start juicing it, because that way you're going to get nice, soft, tender produce. If you buy things from the store that's been, picked, hydro-cooled, and then shipped, what I call plant rigor mortis sets in. They get really stiff and the fibers are harder, and then the juicer may have more challenge with that. One of the biggest problems with the Omega Vert is things getting stuck in the ejection port. So how can this be reduced? a few ways. Number one, slow down when feeding. Don't just keep shoving stuff in. And the other thing is, you do not want to use a pusher. If you want to throw away this pusher, forget it even came with one, because if you're using the pusher to feed things in, you're probably feeding in things too fast. One of the features I really like about the Omega Vert Juicer is that it's literally self-feeding if you use it properly. So that means things like the cabbage I'm gonna, juice in just a minute. We're gonna take the knife and we're gonna cut it up into small little shreds, like eighth-inch shreds. You can see here, this is the width of the shreds here. So whether you're juicing things like cabbage, kale, collard greens, spinach, celery, it all needs to be in 1/8-inch shreds so that it doesn't clog up the ejection port. Another thing that's very critical to prevent clogging and get the best results and minimal pulp in your juice is to rotate what you're juicing. So you don't want to just put, okay, John, I'm juicing all these things. I'm juicing today for breakfast. I'm juicing carrots, tomatoes, a lemon, apples, and the cabbage. I'm not just going to put like all the carrots, then all the apples, then the single lemon. I'm going to rotate. So I'm going to put like, a handful of cabbage down in there. Then I'm going to put like, break off a piece of carrot, put a piece of carrot in there. Then I'm going to put a piece of apple, and then a piece of tomato, and then a piece of lemon. And then repeat, start over. More cabbage, more carrot. And continually cycle through what you put into the juicer, because the juicer needs different textures, different fibers to help push the produce through. This is especially important on softer things like these tomatoes, or especially the apples. Basically, one of the ways you can much more easily juice in the vert is if whatever you juice, you always juice a piece of carrot after it. Juice whatever, juice a piece of carrot. Juice a tomato, juice a piece of carrot. Juice a piece of orange, juice a piece of carrot. If you put the carrot texture, because this juice is the optimal, juicer for carrots, pushing things through and keeping it unclogged. Because when I went over to Korea to check out the factory, literally they spent hours and hours and hours of juicing carrots. And I might have saw them juice maybe like apples, but I didn't really see them juice any dark leafy greens or anything, and that's why you really need to cut them up for best results. But it does really good at juicing the carrots, and the carrots really keep that pulp flowing and moving through. The biggest problem is that people use soft produce, don't pre-cut their produce, and start feeding things in like really fast. You just really got to take your time, slow down. This is a slow juicer, 80 RPMs. It's going to maximize the amount of nutrition, but you need to slow down. If you want a fast juicer, you can get one of those. They will oxidize the juice, create less nutrition, but you're going to be done faster. And I think any juice you can drink is better than not drinking it at all, or even drinking things like a coffee. The last quick start tip I want to give you guys today is on cleaning. Cleaning is probably one of the most important aspects to keep your juicer working properly. If you don't clean it properly, it'll get gunked up, your screen will get gunked up, your yields will go down, and it's just not going to work. So the number one tip for cleaning is simply this. Once you're done juicing, take the juicer apart and instantly clean it. And don't forget to use that special cleaning brush that comes with the machine. This cleaning brush is instrumental in cleaning the juicing screen. You got to take this brush, and it's a nice hard bristle brush there. You want to scrub the screen all the way around, both rings, outside and then inside. And you want to make sure you get all the different pulp particles out of the screen. You want to take this screen, look up to it in the light, and you shouldn't see any blockages. Like in this screen here, I'm seeing a little bit of blockage here. And over time, if you get a lot of blockage, that means your juicer is just not going to work as effectively. So clean it right after you use it. And then, the other thing very important that I didn't talk to you about is when you're cleaning this part, which is the automatic wiping blade. It's like windshield wipers for your car to keep your windshield free of rain when it's raining. This actually will keep the screen cleaner and allow you to get more yield into the glass and not getting your screen clogged while juicing. These guys do come out, so you just take this guy and you push that thing down and it comes right out, and you should definitely brush this down every time, or at least every other time, to keep it with no mold growth or anything like that, and then it just basically slides back in there. So yeah, you could do that to both sides of this silicone wiping blade. In addition, another question I get is, hey John, what's that little flap on the bottom of the machine here, this little yellow pulp flap? Now what this pulp flap does, it keeps pressure on the juice pulp inside the machine to get it fully wrung out before it lets it escape out into the collection bin. So this little flap always needs to be pushed into the juicer to get the highest yield, and you do not want to leave this out, because if you leave this out, then juice is going to run down your main motor body. One of their quick tips that I want to give you guys is that, if you are juicing, and sometimes people have problems with disassembly of the machine after they're juicing, one of the things I have heard is that this piece here will get stuck on the machine. So there's two actions to get this off. What you need to do is you need to rotate it and then pull up. So sometimes it gets stuck. So if this is full of pulp, it may make it more difficult to take off, but I always like to recommend you guys use this as a handle. So push with this, and you're going to push to the left there, and then just lift up, and it should just come off. I want to see someone that has had a specific challenge with this, and I could kind of determine what's going on, but until I get there, that's probably the easiest thing to do to get this off if it does get stuck. I think that's pretty much it for my quick start tips and techniques. Hopefully with these tips and techniques you'll be up and successfully juicing in the Omega Vert. Be sure to check my other videos where I go into the Omega Vert best practices, which goes into specific detail on how to properly prepare, juice, and rotate the produce as you're juicing, because I really didn't go into that in this video. So I guess I gotta make some breakfast. I'm really hungry. Hope you guys enjoyed this really quick start video, giving you the nuts and bolts of what's really important when using the Omega Vert juicer. Once again, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for our YouTube visitors.